This is the end of an era. I just sold my 40-acre film ranch, the Eclectic West. I'm gonna give you guys all of the ins and outs and details of this purchase, this investment. Was it profitable? Was it not? How did it come to be? But first, we need to talk about why I even bought 40 acres in the middle of the California desert. So how this property even came to be is in 2018, I bought my first house in LA, which I subsequently turned into a film studio called the Honeymoon Hideout. It was like a 1960s, 70s vintage home that I decorated intentionally to put on Peer Space and rent out to film and photo shoots, as well as use for my own productions. Because I just saw, as I was directing and shooting music videos, I was paying a lot of money to rent these locations. And I was like, damn, I wish I had a location of my own. So as music videos, photo shoots, etc. came through, I could just use my own house and not have to go rent another house or property. But also I could have other, creatives essentially pay my mortgage and live rent-free in Los Angeles. And that was the goal. There really wasn't a bigger goal or mission to make a bunch of money or turn it into some business. But very quickly, it just took off and exploded. And I began making a lot of money renting out this, essentially film studio, my house, to a bunch of productions in LA. And it was about 4 or 5 months into that, maybe less, around 4 or 5 months, jokingly to my wife, as we're, driving down to a flea market, she's like, we should do another. And can't tell me that, because once you get my mindset on something, the wheels just start turning. And I always knew that I would like to have like my own kind of like film ranch desert location where I could do I always had this idea of like a plane crash set and whatnot, because obviously growing up, you love movies and you go to Universal Studios and you see the plane crash set on the back lot. And I was a fan of the show Lost growing up. And I just had this kind of dream to have my own film ranch, if you will, one day. And I knew in LA, a lot of those desert film locations like Four Aces, Club Ed, and obviously the backlot, they are very, very expensive. You have to go through all of this red tape to shoot there. And if you're a director or a filmmaker on the come up, you can't really rent those spots. You need a big budget. And so I thought it would be really cool to start my own film ranch that had high level production sets, but at an affordable cost where anyone could book the space and cater to small productions, medium-sized productions, big productions. And ultimately that's what ended up happening. But on that drive down to the flea market, I stumbled across this piece of land, which ultimately became the Eclectic West. I put a call into the realtor. This was on Sunday. I went and saw the property on Tuesday. I took a friend with me, shout out to Will Rouse. I went and saw it, and I was just in my head, I was like, oh, this is it. And within a week, I bought the property. So what was unique about this property is because it was kind of the 40 acres and kind of more so like a cabin on the property. It wasn't a traditional home purchase mortgage, if you will. The deal to buy this property was all cash. You had to come to the table with all cash. And I'm going to be as forward as I can on with numbers on this video. But the property was for sale for $135,000. Again, only accepting cash offers, could not finance it. And that'll come back later when I come to sell it. I'll explain that. Same thing for the buyer that bought the property from me. But it was a cash offer. And yeah, it was a big risk. I mean, ultimately, I've done very well for myself over my career. I've saved and stacked a lot of money, and then seeing also how well the house was doing, which was also a huge investment, and seeing it paying off and doing so well, I just thought oh yeah, if I roll that into this property, this property is gonna do really well too. And this is just the next step in evolution of getting another property and kind of starting this film location business, if you will. And so while yes, $135,000 is a lot of money, I believed in myself and the idea, and I kind of jumped on it right away. I feel like a lot of times people overanalyze things, and sometimes that's good. You don't want to just make rash decisions, but ultimately yeah, it was a very big investment, and can you close that? Sorry, my wife just walked in. She's coming in to package up some orders. But where was I? Yeah, it was a big investment. So I definitely, like, although I was really gung ho about the idea, there was a part of me that was a little hesitant, like, but I was excited. Nonetheless, I purchased the property in like under a week, and I just thought, what the hell, I'm gonna go for it. But after I bought the property, there was definitely some fear and doubts that were starting to set in. It's like, damn, did I just spent $135,000 on this 40 acres in the middle of the desert, an hour and a half to hour 45 outside of LA. Like, what if and I still have to do other things. I had to go buy the airplane parts and set up the airplane crash site. I had to build out the gas station, convenience store. There was other money I still had to put into it, invest into it to build these sets. And I was like, what if I spend all this time and all this money and nobody books it? And that could have been a very big reality, but I saw my vision for it. And how I always kind of looked at things was, if I would want to shoot here, then I know other people would want to shoot here as well. And that's what I just kept telling myself. It's like, no, like, I'm going to use this. I would want to use this. So if I know I want to use it for my various music videos, short films, etc., other people will as well. And it's kind of like that iconic saying, right? Build it and they will come. And they did. So I want to say, in total, investment wise, from the cash down to buy the property, the land, to then building the various sets, like the gas station, the airplane crash, the convenience store, the mechanic shop, and just cleaning up the property in general, and a few other things. I mean, I probably spent like $175,000, I would say. Total investment into the property was probably around 175. I don't have specific numbers in front of me right now, but that sounds about right. So obviously, when you're making a play as big as this, there are pros and cons, and there are potential risks, right? The risk is, I spent all this time and money, no one comes out here and shoots, and then what? I mean, fortunately, because I bought the property cash, there's no like mortgage or rent. The only thing that I'm really having to deal with is property taxes. But like, that's a lot of money to have sunk into a property that would give you no return. And so there was a big risk that I would spend this, $175,000 and kind of be in the hole until I could potentially turn around and sell the property. Could I even sell the property for that? If I were to turn around, how long would I need to hold on to the property to get that, to try and sell it to get that money back? Because I can't just immediately turn around and sell it for 175 when I just bought it for 135. And again, it's a unique deal because the type of land and property it is, it's going to have to be an all cash offer. It's not something that a bank is going to finance. So there's a lot of risks involved with that, right? And I think more importantly, the risk of my time. At the time, like, I was very busy directing and editing music videos, but I'm taking all of this time off from focusing on that part of my career and life to, try and start this business and get this going out in the desert. So I'm risking a lot of my time. I'm risking potential opportunities that I can't take or do because I'm focused on this. So there was a lot of risk, whether, financial or, personal career wise. So to give some rough numbers, we've done, I don't know exactly how many bookings, but we've done over 500 bookings between Peerspace, Gigster, and then just some off the book stuff through friends, as well as my own productions. I've done countless short films and music videos and whatnot out there, but over 500 productions have been the backdrop, or the Eclectic West has been the backdrop of over 500 productions out there. And I would say it's safe to say that the rough booking amount would be around $1,000 per booking. Sure, you're gonna have some people that only come out for maybe 3-4 hours for a smaller photo shoot, but then you also have the big film production, where that might be like $400 or $500, but then you have the large 12-hour, 14-hour music videos, commercials that are out there with massive crews where it might be $2,000 booking, right? So let's just say kind of meet in the middle, $1,000 on average per booking, just even on the basis of 500 shoots is $500,000. So, you know, $175,000 to buy the property, $500,000 over the course of 5 years, which roughly equates to anywhere, I would say, depending on a good year or bad year, between 70,000 to like 110,000 in revenue. So depending on the year, you know, from 2019 when I bought the property to right now in 2024 when I sold it, obviously there's some better years, some not as good years, but I would say it was safe to say every year it brought me passively in around 70 to 100, 110,000 in revenue per year. Now, again, why this is great is I bought the property cash and it was paid off. So that's really kind of money in our pocket, if you will, outside of the expenses that you may have on a daily, monthly, yearly basis, such as, you know, paying the site reps that are, you know, running the shoots and being site reps on site, you know, different trash cleanups, electric. Fortunately, like all of those things like trash, electric, super low. I mean, I think the electric bill out there every month was like $40. Then you have property taxes. I mean, there were some small expenses, nothing too major, nothing too crazy. I think the biggest expense is what I'm going to talk about here in a second, which is kind of why I sold the property. So I want to say about a year ago, some problems started where unfortunately someone had bought a property nearby out there and started growing weed illegally, and they ended up getting busted. And in the process of them getting busted, you know, there was some local county officials and whatnot that all of a sudden are coming back there and seeing this property with an airplane crash and all this stuff and going like, what is this? And so they did some digging and realizing I was essentially running a business out of a property that was zoned residential instead of commercial. And so they started finding me for, you know, doing these shoots and having the stuff on the property, running it as a commercial business instead of, you know, what it was zoned for, which was a residential property. So here and there, I started getting little fines of, and I say little, but they're actually kind of significant, like $1,500 here, $1,000 here, $300 here, just depending on what it was. And so over the last year of going back and forth with the county of like, okay, what do I need to do to rectify this, to, you know, get the property up to code so I can continue doing this? And they've just honestly been a little difficult to work with. And ultimately, we came up with a game plan that I just needed to get the property rezoned for commercial use, and that I needed to get one of the buildings permitted that I had built, which was like the gas station country store. And so they wanted me to, like I said, rezone it commercial, get that building permitted, as well as like one other thing on the property. And then I would be good to continue running business as is. But as we go back and forth and we start planning and mapping those things out, they kind of just start showing me what the estimated costs are going to be to rezone and do all these things. Again, like anytime you're dealing with like government and county, like there's just a lot of back and forth and a lot of red tape you have to go through. So this was over the course of months, we're talking with them and figuring out this game plan. And then it just got to a number where I was just like, this doesn't make sense for me. Like I've had this property for 5 years. I've made great money doing it. I don't want to keep putting all this money back into it when I know there's other things that I want to do and invest my money in. And my life now is very different than it was 5 years ago when I started this. I've got a family now. I've got 2 twins that are 2. I live in Arizona instead of LA. Like there's just all these things that are different. And it just it was a lot of headache and trouble that I didn't want. And I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and sell this property to, you know, someone who wants to continue on and carry on its legacy. And then I can take that money and invest it into the other things I want to do. And I have bigger plans and ambitions for more like film studio, film ranch stuff. And I'll just go do this elsewhere. I'll take that money, take my peace. At this point in my life, I just want to work what I want to work on, have peace. And then, so yeah, I just kind of made the decision like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and sell this and know that, you know, the person that's coming in to buy it is going to have to take care of some of this stuff. But fortunately for them, we've already done a lot of the leg and groundwork for them. And so, yeah, ultimately that was kind of the decision to sell. It's just like, I just didn't want to deal with that right now in my life. And Again, I had made great money with the property, and it served me and so many of my productions well, and so many other people's productions well. And I also think I have grander ambitions beyond what that property can do for me. Big picture goals. And so, yeah, just kind of made the decision with my wife that, you know what, we can go ahead and let this go. It's very sad, like for days once we made that decision and put it up. And then ultimately once an offer was accepted, like I was just down, man. I was just sad. Like it was hard for me to like be cheery, because it's like was such a big part of my life, and ultimately what stemmed many of the other studios. Right after Eclectic became, you know, the Barracks and then the Lodge, and so even the house we have now in LA. And so Eclectic was the start of a lot of things, and was a big part of my life for the last 5 years. And so it's been sad to let it go and think about letting it go, but I am excited that it will still carry on as a film location. It will still be available. So if anyone is seeing this and you still want to shoot out there, and you're not sure where to find the new link or listing or whatever, you know, you can DM me and I can forward you that. But yeah, ultimately that's kind of why I decided to let it go. So on the sale, I ended up selling it for, initially I was going to try and sell like the business as a whole. But that just proved to be very difficult. We had a lot of interested parties, but no one could just afford it. And I could have sold the business as a whole, but it probably would have taken a lot more time to find a buyer that could afford it, that wanted to take that on for that price. And so ultimately I just decided to, kind of how I bought the property, was just sell the land. And so sold the land. I didn't sell the business, so they're not getting, you know, the Instagram, the listings, the numbers behind it, and everything like that. They are just basically getting the property, the land itself, and having to kind of carry it on themselves and do all the work themselves and start from scratch in terms of like business wise. And I'm taking the name. But yeah, I sold the land for 2.5 times what I bought it for, which is great. And like I said, all the while made you know, solid money, renting it out to other film productions. So it's definitely been, in my eyes, like a great investment, a good investment. It's served me so well. I mean, so many of my projects have been shot out there, so many other people's projects. It gave people in the film community an affordable, cool desert film location to shoot. I know people traveled from all over the country to come shoot there. It was a fun project, and that's how I look at it, right? I look at it as like a project. You know, I'm shutting the doors on this project. It has been out, it has been released, and it's time to move on to the next project. And I feel like that's how I work in general too. It's like, I do so many different things, from Prism Lens Effects, Tropicolor, my film production, the film studios, just everything. Like I like jumping around and doing different things. I just think that's like how I enjoy things and my brain works. To only do one thing for so long gets kind of a little mind numbing. And so, yeah, that closes the doors on this project of the Eclectic West. Doesn't mean it's over. It just means this part of it is over, because like I said, I always have goals, plans, and ambitions for more. And yeah, I won't reveal those yet, but me and my wife are talking about, I'm not gonna get into it. Just continue on doing what I'm doing, continue pursuing what I love to do, which is right now just, you know, making short films, creating content, working on Prism Lens Effects, growing that. You know, the film studios, we're opening a bunch of new sets at the Barracks. We got a really cool VH video store coming, as well as some liminal spaces, a concert kind of venue, a green room. So still love that, and we're working on expanding those. I don't know what my next investment here in Arizona is going to be. That'll probably be the next real estate investment, is something here in Arizona. I would love to create some sort of like woodsy retreat with like tiny cabins and like ice baths and stuff. Like, so I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, just going to continue to pursue what I love and take care of my family. That's the end goal, is just, you know, to do what I love on a daily basis and make sure my family's taken care of. So yeah, I guess that's really it for this video. Appreciate y'all for watching. If you want to learn more about my various film studios, I'll link that in the video description below. If you ever shot there, share your work down in the comments below. If you ever shot at the Eclectic West, I want to see it and kind of reminisce and revisit those. So yeah, drop those in the comments below as well. Would love to check it out, and also let other people see like what work has been done there. But yeah, I mean, it's served so many people over the years. There's been so many incredible productions, so, like from feature films to massive industry music videos to commercials to indie short films, photo shoots. It's really cool to see what I envisioned worked out. It's really cool, and I'll hold on to that for the rest of my life. So appreciate y'all. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, tune in to the next one. Peace.